Governor Larry Hogan shot this video last night. These lights over his hometown in Davidsonville, just 25 miles from the nation's capital, as he pointed out. And then there's this.
I've never seen that. Wow, they just passed each other. Yeah, I've never seen that before.
New Jersey Senator Andy Kim shared this video of drones he shot yesterday. Federal authorities insist most of these sightings are actually legally manned aircraft. But Senator Kim says he checked a flight tracker app while capturing this video and that the devices he was capturing were not on it. The sightings are happening near LaGuardia Airport, too. Officials say they received unconfirmed reports of drone activity over that busy airport. As for numbers, the FBI says it's received more than 3,000 tips from the public about drone sightings going back to November 18th, all over New Jersey. Since then, there's been an average of 92 sightings per night and expanding across half a dozen states. In a joint statement, the FBI and Department of Homeland Security said, quote, "We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or public safety threat, or that they have a foreign nexus." Lawmakers, however, aren't buying it and are pushing for answers and action. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and 2 other senators wrote a letter calling for a briefing with the FBI and Homeland Security. While in Connecticut, Senator Richard Blumenthal says the devices should be shot down if they can't be identified. And we've learned that House Speaker Mike Johnson did get a federal briefing on the sightings, as has Senate staffers in a few select offices. But other than that, there's been very little transparency. So what's going on? Is this some contagious mass hysteria? Or are people really seeing something that our government cannot identify? Our own Rich McHugh went out drone hunting in New Jersey. He did not come back empty-handed. Rich, tell us what you saw.
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, I gotta be honest here. You know, when this story first came out a few weeks ago, as a resident of New Jersey, as a journalist, I didn't pay it much credence. I thought it would turn out to be a bunch of pranksters and this would all be over by now. The experience I had last night, however, changed the way I feel about this story completely. What I saw was more sophisticated than I ever imagined. Take a look.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 lights, 6 lights?
I didn't believe what I was seeing. But what was I seeing? We're here in Central Jersey. We've been looking for the past hour. I think we've seen about 40 or 50 of these drones. In fact, there's one over my shoulder right there. One after another, these drones appeared in the night sky. If you look real close, they look like fixed-wing aircraft, about 8 to 10 feet wide, colorful, white blinking lights.
That is not a plane.
Definitely not an airplane, but what was it? Hours earlier, I was invited to join the Ocean County Sheriff Department. They launched their own drones to see if they could intercept the mysterious aircraft New Jersey residents have been reporting in recent weeks. The department says these mystery drones evade detection because they don't give off heat like regular drones. Why do you think that is?
We don't know. It's just something that we haven't, it's not something that we've had our hands on. It's not something that we've experienced.
Something they hadn't experienced until now. One of their officers called 911 after seeing 50 of them come off the ocean.
Advised after we made contact with that officer that there were 50 that came off the ocean.
50?
50. That was my reaction also. There were 50 that were coming off the ocean.
And this is a sworn officer?
Sworn officer, yes. We contacted the state police, we contacted the FBI, we contacted the Coast Guard, at which point the Coast Guard went out with their boat and they reported seeing 13 following their boat, and then the Coast Guard also advised that they went over them about 300 feet and had a wingspan of about 8 feet.
Can you see what range is it?
Did I see the same thing that officer saw? I'm still not sure. What I can show you is this video. What I can tell you is I've never seen anything like it before. In more than a month since these reports started, the federal government doesn't know what they are either.
What's your message to the White House?
I'm just going to come to the Jersey Shore. I know it's wintertime, but come see what we see, and then, maybe they'll have a better appreciation for why our residents are concerned.
You know, the Ocean County Sheriff, that drone unit, they have an industrial grade drone. They put it up. They were tracking one of these drones, Elizabeth, and they said this thing easily evaded them, disappeared out of thin air. So, you know, to me, if this is not our military, then it's even more scary, and we need answers, frankly.
All right, Rich McHugh. Thanks so much.
Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. The video that I'm dropping tonight, okay, I didn't really want to get into this. This whole story with the drones that everybody's been talking about, that's been circulating like wildfire all over the mainstream media, all over social media. Because in all honesty, the way I see it, this is actually more nefarious, if anything, than what people are actually putting together. Okay, but it just seems like everyone that's putting out their own opinions and content on it, they're asking questions, okay, instead of looking at this in a broader sense, like I like to say on this channel, thinking outside the box of why these things are going on. Okay, there is a guy by the name of Cliff High that everybody's been circulating his name, saying that he predicted, okay, a while ago, that this was going to happen, but in the sense that it was going to be an alien invasion. Now that story's been going on for the past 2 weeks or so, ever since I think before or a little after Election Day. Okay, I'm gonna throw some quick context into it. I'm gonna play a video that he put out, and then I'm gonna just show a couple of things here and there and put my thoughts into all this, because, you know, in this day and age of technology, okay, no one should be surprised about something happening like this, in my opinion. Okay, there's been talk for years, okay, that people say is conspiracy, and conspiracy coming from people on the right, or just some like some alien conspiracy nut jobs, you know, tinfoil hat wearing people, whatever, that the powers that be, okay, that want to basically control the world, have like this game plan that if when all else fails, it's time to start the so-called alien invasion protocol, I guess you can call it. Okay, me personally, I think that this has something more to do politically, where, and I'm going to say the powers that be, okay, are setting up a tactic, okay, for something that they want to fall into Trump's lap, okay, when he becomes president. That's the way I see it. I'm going to explain why I say that as we go along, but I'm going to play the video of that guy Cliff High, okay, and where people are under the notion that a program that him and some other guy made back in 2009, sorry, that they made a program that was supposed to like read predictions of the stock market and stuff like that, or whatever the case is. But supposedly, okay, that computer program basically kept running on its own, I guess, and just started putting things together from all the information it was getting from, you know, from current events to, you know, local news, world events, whatever the case is, from the economy and all that, and was basically bunching everything up and was putting out its own, I guess you could say, timeline prediction, I guess you can say, or basically just building a timeline of the way things are supposed to fall into place. And I guess it's because with the way the program was made is to show how the stocks would go from one day to the next. So basically it's taking every factor into consideration to put out a positive, and it almost kind of sounds like the computer basically on its own, okay, decided to make future predictions of things that I honestly, to tell you the truth, I think it's all BS. Okay, and there's a reason for that, and I'll point out why that a lot of people are not asking, because I've been watching, the past few days, a lot of people putting out content, and I'm like, everybody's going on what this guy Cliff High is talking about. They're trying to put two and two together. They're trying to say that, that he predicted all this, okay, that it's, nefarious. But something, as always, I pick up on it. Something popped up when I watched his whole video. It's over an hour. And I was like, wait a minute. The one thing that he doesn't say, which I'm going to tell you what he doesn't say, that I noticed, in my opinion, just blows his whole theory out of the water. Okay? And I'll point that out so everybody could think a little clearer and understand it. You know what? I think personally, now I don't know the man. I don't know his work. I'm not trying to badmouth the man in any way. But when I look at a lot of this information, I have to start thinking, like I said, outside the box. Is all this a political stunt, something done from the deep state that's going to drop something on Trump's lap, okay, to make him look bad? So like that, the powers that be, okay, the regime in power can push, like, I don't know, impeachment proceedings to get rid of him so he doesn't stay in office after he's sworn in. Okay, so I hope everybody stays with me. This is going to be kind of a lengthy video, okay? I just want everybody to pay attention, okay? Because people need to understand. There are people that are going to fall for this because the precedent's already set up to scare people, okay? But I've said it in many of my videos, okay? The powers that be are 10, 20 steps ahead. You have to get ahead of those steps in order to thwart, for lack of a better term, in order to thwart their grand plan or whatever the case is. Okay, so we're gonna jump into the video of what this guy is talking about. I'm gonna stop it and try to fast forward just to get to some key points, so you guys could understand a little better of what it is I'm also trying to say. Here we go. Okay, before I continue, I just want to apologize if there's any echoing in some of the news feeds that I record from. For some odd reason, certain channels, they always end up with an echo. I don't know why that happens. I'm thinking it's something on their part they do, so nobody can borrow their content. I don't know. But this is the guy, Cliff High, okay? Now, he has a chalkboard. I started it. I'm going to start it at the 10:23 minute mark. Okay, it says 59 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing. Where he basically he's going to start talking about how him and his partner, whoever's helped him with that computer program, okay, how they started coming across, like, the events that everybody is saying that he predicted that's happening right now with all these drones or alien ships or whatever strange sightings up in the sky in Jersey and in other parts of the country. Here we go.
Okay, so there's so much we don't know about time. There's so much we don't know about the ability of predictive linguistics related to the mass psychic impressions. And I was just guessing for time on all these words. Millions of things. Okay, it was automated. It didn't go through millions, but nonetheless, it was quite the tedious thing. It took years. Okay, so we had a temporal marker that originally showed up in the podcast thing in 2009. Okay, in 2009, it started shaping up as a temporal marker that would be almost impossible to miss should it ever arise, okay? And that this temporal marker was going to be, as I couldn't get a word big enough, and Dick Allgaier reminded me in the interview that it was going to be basically iconic, and that's what it is, okay? So the temporal marker that we're discussing here is Rogan-Trump interview, right? Or Trump being interviewed by Rogan, or discussion, however we want to talk about it, right? On the Joe Rogan podcast. Now, this is pertinent because I'd had this percolating since 2009, and then I had, at some point later on, I'd gone and I'd put in a request with the Future Forecasting Group, as they're called now, and talked to headquarters and got them to do a future forecasting sweep on my situation. What's this thing going to occur? Damned if they didn't nail it. You should go look up that video. If I get my shit together, I'll put a descriptor in, or put a link in under in the description for this video. Anyway, so Dick Allgaier comes back with drawing Trump and Joe Rogan, the whole damn thing, right? And so at that time, we just, at the time of the video that Dick Allgaier made, and going into the interview with me, it was a temporal marker, but the interview never happened because it was all about the debate. But you'll see in the discussion I had with Dick that I didn't expect the debate to occur because my data set clearly showed that it was just the two of them, that this iconic mono thing was going to continue on for like a long fucking time as the icon for the turn, right? For the turn of so much related to the chaos that's in our world now. And so it's going to be a really cool temporal marker to observe, and a very important one, perhaps the most important one that I had ever had forecast within that, in the data sets, even more important than Bitcoin or any of this other shit, right?
Let me stop real quick. Just so YouTube knows, I'm not the one doing all the cursing. This is pre-recorded. He's doing all the cursing. I have nothing to do with it. Also, I hope everybody's paying attention so far what this man is saying. You heard that he said in 2009, he mentioned podcast, he mentioned Joe Rogan, and he mentioned Trump. Okay? Keep that in mind. It's very important. Let's continue.
At that level. Okay, so that was 2009. We go to 2019, and Dick and I have our interview about it, but it doesn't happen at that time, right? Because the debate never happened. Pre-presidential election debate, right? Maybe it was 2020. So, but right in that time period. Okay, now it's 2024, and we have the same temporal marker of Trump and Rogan, but as a duo, right? Not as part of a debate, showing up. So we're back to the temporal marker, and they've now confirmed that they're going to do this. I have no idea what day or anything. I'm out of the loop as far as that goes. I don't get a chance to really catch up with a lot of that. And so busy around here that all I can do is sometimes I turn stuff on and I sometimes catch a little of it, on the audio as I'm passing through. Okay, so now let's understand a few things here. Okay. No, we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so at the time that I did that in 2009, I've been working with this guy since since 1999. Okay, this was my Igor. We called him Igor. That was a fake name, right? He didn't want to be associated. He had a professional career. He didn't want to be associated with this lunacy. He didn't want his name attached or whatever, right? And he had other issues. So anyway, so he's been anonymous. We go along. We make make this thing work. He works with me for a better part of or more than a decade on the thing. As the data wrangler, right? He was doing a lot of that aspect of it. And I was out writing the code and stuff. Anyway, because of the situation now, okay, so Igor and I parted ways when I had to shut my process down after the heavy hand of censorship run up into 2017. So around 2012, well actually around 2002, the censorship started rolling in. I knew this because I was tracking the Department of Defense introduction of the flat earth meme as a PSYOP in 2002, and I started writing about it, and it got heavy-handed shut down. It was like canceled everywhere. I would post it and it'd be taken down almost immediately. Didn't matter where, right? There were very few outlets at that time. Substack did.
Okay, now he mentioned the flat earth bullshit. Okay, now I'm going to throw a little bit of context into what's going on so far. Okay, so everybody stay with me. Like I said, the video's an hour. This is actually the shorter version. The other version is actually like an hour and 3 minutes or something like that. But just so I can catch up a little bit, or help everybody catch up. Okay, you heard he said that he was working with a guy since 1999. Fast forward 10 years, they're working together. 2009 comes. He mentions about the podcasting, about meaning the podcast that Joe Rogan just had with Trump. Okay, right before the debate, right before the election. Okay, that they thought it was going to happen in 2009. It didn't happen. Fast forward 10 years, 2019, almost 2020, they thought it was going to happen then. It didn't happen. Fast forward to 2024, okay, it did happen. Now, what he basically is trying to say that the computer program, okay, putting all this information together, okay, predicted that 39 days, it says it right up here, 39 days after that podcast with Trump and Rogan, that there was going to be some weird stuff going on. Alien attack, whatever the case is, weird things in the sky. That's the way that program predicted everything, meaning because the program they created is to predict outcomes of like the stock market or whatever the case is. Okay, so I hope everybody's paying attention so far. Let's continue.
Didn't exist and all this kind of stuff. I put it on my website once, but I was dependent and got hit by a DDoS attack you would not believe, and so I took it down myself just in order to get that bandwidth free because I needed it for the data stuff. Anyway, so the censorship clamps down on me too hard. I had other issues there. I was still in the process of a long 30-year process of discovering I wasn't inclined to go and fight a lot of stuff at that point on this level for this stuff. And so, my assistant here, Igor, was quite happy. He had purchased a lot, like buckets and buckets and buckets of Ethereum. And he was happy as a clam at high tide. And so it didn't bother him that we were shutting down. It wasn't really a problem for him. Anyway, he got hold of me the other day as a result of this temporal marker, as a result of of him hearing about Trump and Rogan. He's not in the country. There was a slight delay on him finding this stuff out. Anyway, he gets...
Okay, if anybody doesn't know what a temporal marker is, it's something that, going back to his computer program, something... the way it predicts things, it puts all this information together, okay? And before it can predict, let's say before it can predict, just to make it simple, okay? Before it can predict that, like me, I'm gonna light a cigarette, it'll first show things that will predict that I will take my cigarette out the pack of cigarettes, okay? So the temporal marker was Joe Rogan interviewing Donald Trump. If that happened, then the next step would be that 39 days later would be the visible contention, or I believe the temporal marker is the visible contention, or one or the other, the first one or the second one, where the second act will take place. Okay? Meaning, like I said, once they seen the temporal marker that Joe Rogan interviewed Donald Trump, or that they might have had a debate together, okay, 39 days after that, the computer predicted that there was going to be something that was going to happen that was going to end up causing an effect, what they will call a melee, meaning something big was going to happen, okay, alien attack, drone attacks, something to that effect. That's why he used the word melee. Now, if you want to see the full video, okay, it's on YouTube. It's called the 39 Days to Melee or something like that, okay? As a matter of fact, let me minimize the screen so you guys can see it. 39 Days to Melee. Trump and Rogan, temporal marker, and other manifestations in our common shared reality. Okay? Now, I'm just going to give you that information because for me to fast forward and cut into everything he says is going to take time. I'll play a little more. Okay? Maybe he'll get to this point. If not, I'll stop it. But that is the gist of what this whole thing is going on, where a lot of people are going, they have this big frenzy, okay, where they're saying that, oh, because he predicted this, the next step, okay, is going to be what's happening right now. All these drones in the skies, the government doesn't know. They're saying it's aliens because the federal government has already said it's not from Iran, it's not from China, okay? They don't know what's going on, even though you have police officers, civilians, sheriffs. I mean, they're out there. They're like, I mean, there's 50 at a pop coming up, 3 over here, 4 over there, over LaGuardia Airport. I mean, they're all over the place. And it's like, you mean to tell me that Biden hasn't give a state of emergency address or something like that to tell everybody, you know, get on TV and say, listen, we don't know what's going on, okay? We know they're not from other countries, so we have no beef with any other countries. We've already checked it out. We've gotten on the phone. We've spoken to them. Everything is fine. But yet, we still haven't deployed the military to shoot these damn things down because nobody's claiming them. You would think that the president of the United States would do something like that or give the order to send the military, okay, out there. No, all they keep coming up with, it's either we don't know or excuses why they can't shoot them down. There's reports of them saying that some of these drones are the size of SUV vehicles. That's how big they are. Okay? But yet, when people go to approach them with other drones, they mysteriously have better capabilities and disappear, supposedly. Okay? Or they're just way too quick and they just, you know, fly away faster than the technology we have now, which I'm not buying at all. Okay? We don't spend trillions of dollars on our U.S. military the way every single 4 years, every year, 2 years, or 4 years, okay? It doesn't matter who's on either side of the aisle, that they're saying we have to re-up the money for the military in the billions, hundreds of billions of dollars, okay, to keep up with technology, to not be able to find out what the hell is going on. You mean to tell me all that money spent, and if these are just drones, we don't have the capabilities to go out there and handle this? I'm not understanding all that. I mean, there's probably a few reasons behind it, which, like I said, I'm going to put my thoughts on it. Like I said, I honestly think this is something that's going to set up Trump, or they're trying to set up Trump after he becomes president, and I'll explain more of that. But let's listen to a little more of what he has to say.
Told me, and he wanted to remind me of something. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, so he retired. He's happy. He's living in a tropical paradise. He's one of probably the top. I'm certain he's one of the top % richest guys on the island that he's living on. Anyway, but he was letting me know, hey, you know, remember that. See, we didn't keep the data. It was just too voluminous. I mean, the resources were thin. I didn't have vast quantities of storage, nor the ability to keep it safe, right? I live out in the Northwest, and the conditions can be quite hard on electronics and data. Anyway, he reminded me about this thing, about at the time in 2009, that the temporal marker showed up that is now labeled as the Rogan-Trump interview temporal marker, which is now identifying the time we're in. That was linked to Bitcoin prices and all different kinds of stuff, right, in those data sets going all the way back to 2009. Bear in mind, I think it was 2009 that they released the white paper with Satoshi's name on it. So we didn't even have Bitcoin software mining or anything at that point. Anyway, though, so in that original temporal marker data set, there was this stuff, and the reason it really stuck out in his mind was because he and I fought about it for so much. Well, not fought about it, but argued over the how it would have to be interpreted, okay? Because I use a strict denotation, a strict interpretation of a word based on its absolute definition, in terms of correct grammar and so on. So what we ended up doing was doing it my way. I was paying the freight. But the word was melee, okay, M-E-L-E-E. This is a word that is basically military in origin in terms of its use in the English language. And I was in the Air Force. Okay, so I don't mean to laugh, I don't mean to be denigrating about it, but they don't teach history of combat or any of this kind of stuff that I knew of to Air Force non-coms, which is what I was. He was a non-commissioned officer, a data integrity specialist, all other kinds of cool stuff. Basically, those, I understand that he spent a lot of his time in the Air Force playing poker. Anyway, so melee has a very specific meaning, okay? So a melee is not just a bunch of guys standing up and flinging and fighting, right? So it's not a big knockdown, drag-out brawl in a tavern or something. People put the word to it, but that's not accurate, okay? It is a military term. A melee is when an organized act of warfare, an organized combat activity degenerates into what we think of as like a basic brawl. Every person for themselves, any weapon at hand, totally disorganized, completely disorganized, last man standing wins kind of thing, right? Or fight your way out to survive kind of thing.
Okay, now I'm going to leave it at that because he basically explained a big part of this, okay, of when he used the term melee, of what it is. If you get the gist of it, is that from what I understand, okay, and I'm going to cut this short because he's going to go on, and for sake of time, okay, like I said, if you want to see the full video, go right ahead. You can check notes with me, okay, leave it in the comments. This is the way I see it, of what he's trying to, of what he's saying, is that the military would basically start a situation, okay, make it seem as if they can't control it. The masses, meaning civilians, the people, start to panic. The ones that are weak-minded, the ones not like me, I'll just sit back, lock my door, and listen to the chaos outside. When it calms down, then I'll go outside and, do what I got to do. But where they'll start something and people will start panicking, okay, and all of a sudden, after there's so much unrest because they're saying they can't control the civilians outside, then they take other steps. And that could be anybody's guess. Okay? It could be martial law, it could be a total shutdown, you name it, it could be whatever it is. I'm not saying that's what it is, but when he's using these words of how he and his partner came across basically this whole program, this algorithm, I guess you want to say, the way they put it together, okay? The one thing that popped in my head, okay, was let me do some research. Okay? So I'm going to show you what I found, something that was very important. Because one thing kept sticking in my head that he kept mentioning, and I was like, none of this makes sense. Why would he keep saying that the marker, or whatever you want to call it, okay, kept bringing up Rogan and Trump. And I'm like, this just doesn't sound right. And I'll show you why. Here we go. Okay. Now, the one thing that caught my attention, okay, now like I said, I'm not trying to put this man down, but I mean, to me, there's just too many holes in this whole thing, okay? He said that in 2009, that program brought up the fact of Joe Rogan having an interaction with Donald Trump, okay? It didn't happen. It showed up again in 2019. It didn't happen. It showed up again in 2024. It happened. So I did some research. When did Joe Rogan start his podcast? It says it right here. Okay? The Joe Rogan Experience is a podcast hosted by American comedian, presenter, and UFC color commentator Joe Rogan. It was initiated on December 24th of 2009 on YouTube. It was bumped off of YouTube, and he went on his own, where he became bigger. Now, Christmas Eve of 2009, it's only a week away from the new year of 2010. The guy, Cliff High, did not mention when they started their program in 2009. To me, that's a red flag. Because unless Joe Rogan had his podcast already going in all of 2009 and they were running that program, then that program could pick up Joe Rogan's system, the way he does things, and then put all that together in his database and say, well, this is probably what's going to happen. Okay? But if Joe Rogan started it on December 24th, that only gave it a week. But he doesn't mention. Maybe he started the program on December 25th. I don't know if it's feasible for a computer to put that much data together so soon to predict that Joe Rogan would have a meeting with Donald Trump, and 39 days after that, there was going to be a situation that's happening now. The second thing that caught my attention, okay, was down here. Now, remember, computer programs, if they're going to predict something, they have to get a lot of information in order to predict the next outcome. Okay? Now, unless I'm reading this wrong, or unless Wikipedia or whoever didn't put out enough information, to me this draws another red flag, and I'll tell you why. It says right here, where did I see it? Right here. It says, by 2015, it was one of the world's most popular podcasts, regularly receiving millions of views per episode, also including a wide array of guests, including business magnate Elon Musk, whistleblower Edward Snowden, Senator Bernie Sanders, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, and President Donald Trump from December of 2020 to February of 2024. So, I mean, it's like, well, let me continue. Let me finish. It says the podcast was exclusively available on Spotify, with highlights uploaded onto the main Joe Rogan Experience YouTube channel. Okay, I forgot to read that. Sorry. So, if it started getting really popular in 2015, okay, but he started it in December 24th of 2009, when exactly in 2009 did that computer program was able to get so much information on Joe Rogan that it was going to predict that in 2009 he was going to meet up with Donald Trump, when Donald Trump wasn't even a factor in politics in 2009? I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it. Okay? I can't. You know, when you program something to predict something, it needs information to go on. Okay? You can't just go buy a computer. If you buy a computer right now, it already has some programs in it. But if anybody has had a laptop or a desktop, a tablet, it has its factory settings in it. Okay, whatever's installed in it, whatever apps are installed in it. One of the main apps that is installed in most of the things is the Play Store. So you can start downloading more apps, and then you download an app, you open it up, you put your information, and then you start putting more information in order for that app to open up and give you the service that you're looking for. Whether it's a game, a dating app, whatever the hell it is. Okay? So you need to tell me that Joe Rogan, who is very popular, okay, that he launched it on YouTube in December 24th, Christmas Eve of 2009, okay, it made its way. Everybody knows that he got kicked off of YouTube and he wound up going to Spotify or wherever he's going. But this computer predicted in 2009 that the time mark or whatever he called it was going to be in 2009? When two things weren't happening? One, Trump wasn't in politics. He was nowhere near. That is 1 year after Barack Obama became president. Okay? And Joe Rogan launched his channel at the ass end, basically, of 2009. So how did this computer supposedly pick all that up, and here we are today? Okay? But now, with that being said, think about it, people. Leave me comments, let me know. This is what I think. Okay? Because we're hearing excuses left and right, left and right, left and right. Donald Trump left this on Truth Social. Okay, this was, when did he put this out? Today, as a matter of fact. Friday the 13th. Go figure. Okay, at 4:37 p.m. He said, mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know, and now. Otherwise, shoot them down. Okay. Now this is where I'm going to put what I feel about this. If anybody remembers about that Chinese spy balloon that was floating around, that basically Biden didn't want to do a damn thing about it, okay? They kept saying it was from China, from China, from China, so you let China basically run one of their balloons all over the place, if that's even the case, okay? Then they wind up shooting it down, God knows how long after it was just floating around the United States. I'm surprised that it didn't go. I'm surprised, and I'm not surprised at the same time, that they didn't send it over one of the southern states, because you would have had some good old boys out there, okay, betting on doing shots of who could have shot it down first, okay, and if you miss, you got to do a shot. And it also makes me wonder why they're not flying these supposed drones, or these aliens are not coming over the southern states, because that's probably what's going to wind up happening if it does. Okay? So, they wind up doing that, shot it down. Okay? Now, all of a sudden, you got this going on. Okay? 39 days before the election, before Donald Trump gets sworn in. They're saying that they don't want to shoot it down because there's a couple of reasons, and they're good reasons. Number one, some of these crafts are pretty big. Like I said, they said they were the size of SUVs. You shoot one of those down, where it falls, nobody knows. Are people going to get hurt? That's a very big possibility. Okay? The second thing is that they don't know what they're carrying. They don't know if they're carrying bombs or not. Again, you shoot it down, it doesn't explode in the air. It just falls and then explodes when it hits the ground. More damage. I get it. Okay? But now here's the thing. I think, me personally, I think this is what's going on. They know that Trump is going to be no nonsense and say, you know what, like he's saying right here, shoot these things down. I think what they're doing, and I may be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, is that whoever it is trying to set it up that when Trump comes in, okay, now he's got the backing of all the Rhino Republicans now and all that, the Never Trumpers, of course, because they got to keep their power, so they're going to vote for him and back him up and all that. He's in office, but they really don't want him there. We all know the Democrats don't want him there, okay? Trump becomes president. This is still going on. Nobody has any information of what it is. Trump says, you know what? I tell you what. Let's just get over with it. Let's get it over with. Shoot them down. He shoots them down. And whatever the collateral damage is, falls on him. And then, all the Democrats and all the rhinos and never Trumpers in Congress come out and say, we need an emergency hearing because what he did was unconstitutional. We need to impeach him. 2/3 of the House, 2/3 of whatever, 2/3 of the government all agree on this. Let's get him out. Because he put American lives in danger. That's what I think this is all about. Because there is no damn way you're going to tell me that the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, the FBI, the CIA, Biden's administration, every single freaking government entity right now is sitting back talking about it's not from Iran, it's not from China, but it's not a threat. Really? How many times have people tried to fly drones, regular civilians, and there are so many laws against doing it in certain areas? You mean to tell me that whoever is behind this has the authority to fly all these drones, some of them 50 at a pop, some of them the size of SUVs, and the government right now, I'm going to use the word, they are acting complacent as if this is not a problem? I don't think so. I don't know who that man Cliff High is. I watched the rest of his video. He goes into this rant about how all this comes together because of different ancient civilizations and stuff like that, and how this is all working together. I mean, you got to listen to it, and I was just like, I've heard enough. But the one thing, okay, that got me, like I said, was the fact of he didn't say when in 2009 that program was launched. Okay, he didn't say what day the computer gave up the data to say that this was going to happen and take place. Okay, but how, like, I don't know, how convenient that he can come up with all this information. It goes on, I mean, all across news outlets, social media like wildfire. And you got so many people out there videotaping, so many people putting it on TikTok, Facebook, you name it. You can hear it in their voices. A lot of these people are scared. What does that sound like? It sounds like, in my opinion, it sounds like a damn setup. It sounds like a setup, okay? A political setup, something where when Trump takes the reins, okay, then part 2 of their plan pops up. If there is a part 2. I don't know. Just saying. This is just me thinking. But let's put it this way. I'm putting this video up for entertainment purposes. Okay? If you catch my meaning. Because I'm not buying it. I can't believe that everybody in Washington is, I mean, there are politicians that are complaining about it. A lot of them, I mean, you heard that Chuck Schumer and what's his name, they're upset. But I mean, I'd have to think that either they really don't know, they're in the dark, or they're going along with it and they're already putting the trigger words out there. Shoot them down, shoot them down. You see what I'm saying? And now Trump comes out and says, shoot them down. But what people don't understand, and I've been saying it for the longest, okay, is that Trump plays a very good game of chess. So I'm pretty sure that he is having his meetings right now with the people that he's going to appoint, okay, on day 1, how they're going to handle this, if this is still something that's going on. Okay? The second theory, I know I said I have one, but I have another one that's kind of strange, or not strange, is that they implement something that puts the population into total chaos over this, and there will be no inauguration day. If you catch my meaning. Because they won't swear him in, because they're going to stay in control until they can figure all this out. Something to think about. You know? I mean, they've been saying it for the longest. What was his name? Jamie Raskin was saying. Okay, I did a video on that. How they're not going to certify the election on that day. When that day comes, they're not going to do it. So being that they know, you know what, there's going to be an uproar, why not implement a different plan? Either to make it, make it seem like they got to keep control of power, but even then, the masses are going to be like, no. But what would be the number one plan? Leave it in his lap. Let him start shooting down these giant car-sized freaking drones. They start falling out the sky, or debris. People get hurt and or killed, maybe. God forbid not. Okay? And then who does everybody point the finger to? Donald Trump. He's not fit to be president because he didn't take into consideration that there were civilians on the ground, but yet at the same time, the Democrats did nothing like they're doing now to control the situation, to stop it. And how funny is it that all these drones are only coming out at night? Not during the day, at night. But yet they're still trying to push the narrative that they think it's aliens. Meanwhile, the conspiracy has been for decades that this was going to be one of their plans. That the powers that be, one of their ultimate plans was a mocked alien invasion. I know everybody's going to look at me, or maybe you guys want my subs. I love you guys. But other people that don't know this channel will look at me like, oh, you're just another one of those conspiracy theorists. I'm not. I think outside the box. I'm looking at all this from different angles. And the one thing that triggered all this, okay, was when I watched that video to find out who this guy was that everybody's talking about, that he predicted this. And since he did not mention a specific timeline, just a year, but yet I go and do research, and it's as plain as day that Joe Rogan didn't start his podcast until December 24th. Unless that man can prove, or unless it's somewhere in the video that I missed, I just don't see how all that fits together to say that, you know what, our computer program picked up all these chains of events. They were going to happen just like this. We were just waiting for the right marker and then count from there 39 days after that it was going to happen. I don't know, people. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. It really, really doesn't make sense. And it just, to me, it smells like a setup. And that's what I got. It smells like a setup. You know? But don't forget, comment, like, share, subscribe if you like the channel. If you like the content, I should say. Help the channel grow. And, you know, just if anybody sees any of this stuff, if you can record it, email it to me. I'll try to make another video or whatever. I mean, this is all over the place. Okay, all over social media, on the news, and even on the news is dying out a little bit, which I find, again, another strange factor. It's on the local news stations, but not on the big ones. Why? Besides Fox, but why not the other big ones? Why aren't, you know, why isn't the mainstream media concerned about this stuff? You got to ask all these questions. You know? You got to ask all these questions, but I don't know. It just seems like a certain plan is being put into place. And that's what I take from it. My opinion, plain and simple. But anyway, that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. Also, I'm putting this out late. It's the weekend. Hopefully you guys can watch it over the weekend with family and friends and get their take on it. Leave all your comments. Let me know what's what. You know, what you guys feel. I mean, who knows? If there's any other information that is new that you guys know of that I haven't heard of, send me a link. I'll check it out. You know, if it pertains to this, and see what, you know, see if I make another video. I don't know. It just seems more of a fear tactic that's going on than anything else. So remember, people, stay vigilant. Keep praying for each other. Keep praying for the women and the children. Pray for this country. Pray for your enemies, and pray for Donald Trump. Peace.